Welcome to another exciting episode of Youth Launch. Last week was really amazing. Last week, I must say, was a beautiful one. I'm your host, Jadisola Taiwo, and we'll be talking about the church and the creatives. We're talking about the church and the creatives. I'm not going to be doing this alone. I have amazing and incredible people on this couch. We have the creatives and the leaders of our churches here as well. I have Pastor Victor Bolanta. He's a first-class degree graduate of tourism and hospitality management. Our pastor is a first-class graduate, no be small, and he also is a pastor of a church, Ivory Church. Yes, pastor of our Ivory Church, and we also have Pastor Banjo Ojo. He's also a media production head, and he also has the passion for creative. He has worked with them as well, and he's also a pastor. He has served over the years. These are people who have served over the years, encountered creatives and teenagers. We have them here. Welcome to the show, sirs.
Thank you so much.
Welcome to
Thank
the
you
show.
for having us.
And on my left here, we have amazing top-notch creatives. We have Shegu Abraham Ife Ajunai. He's a all-round creative, a content creator, a voiceover artist, and he also is also a storyteller, like a storyteller. Everything he does is he tells stories. We have John Taiwo. John Taiwo is a songwriter and a filmmaker. He's also a co-head of Creole Click. Yes, Creole Click production. Yes, they work with filmmaking and they bring out amazing movies. Amazing movies. He has movies like Husband Material. He has Era War, the AI fiction movie. And to my left here, the last but definitely not the least, we have Dominion Akisola here. We have Dominion Akisola. He's also a cinematographer, he's an editor, yes, and he comes up with creative content. And he works with Access Bank. And we just have so many people here to dish out knowledge, to dish out insights on this topic. Thank you so much. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
How are
Thank
we
you very
feeling?
much.
How are we feeling?
Feeling good.
Feeling
great.
Feeling creative.
Sure. So thank you so much. So today, right, like this very day, we're talking about the creatives and the church, like I said earlier. And there's been a lot of issues, or a lot of, let's say, not everybody's seen eye to eye on some particular things. The church is we, all of us ourselves, but in the church we have the pastors, we have the creatives. And there's some certain things we know that we do maybe may not see eye to eye on, or things we see eye to eye on. And we just want to come to a balance. We want to really understand what are the pastors feeling? What are the creatives going through? Why is there not a synergy at times? Why is it that sometimes we work well in certain areas and some areas we do not work well as well? Are the creatives really accepted in the church? Are the pastors really getting the communication or their voices out there to be able to communicate with those creatives? Is there a balanced ground? So we're here with them, and they will just clear out the air, clear out the air. So welcome once again. Welcome once again. Welcome once
Thank
again.
you. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so first off, my first question is very. In fact, it's like I would speak pidgin for this one, because last week we had some creatives come, and part of what they said, even statistically proven when we went to do our research, they said that um, some creatives don't they complain about being paid, like being paid. It was so much heated that we could not really dabs it down a bit. We had to dabs it down because we wanted people like you to come and just continue from where we stopped. So what do you think about creatives being paid? Like the editors, the cinematographers, the designers, the choir members, some of them will be like, I have a voice. You don't pay me. This is my career. This is what I used to eat. So how can you come in as a leader? Will I say, Pastor Victor, can you just kindly address that?
Okay. Well, somebody like me will say this may be above my pay grade. Because it's a heated subject of discussion in the entire body of Christ. It's been like that for a couple of months now. And I think we might have gotten a bit distracted. You know, we're talking before the segment began, and these wiles of the enemy, it tries to come in and then create this distraction. So, um, there are two sides to it, and there's always a middle ground.
Okay.
The challenge has always been one side of the extreme. So there are some people don't decide that you're working for God. Work for God if you're
yes.
working for God. That's one side of the extreme. And I'm using the word extreme very carefully.
Okay.
There's another side of the extreme
All right.
that is like, there's the other side of the extreme that, how do I put it now, is more after the money than the value itself. And both of them kind of put us in a,
Patricia, will you say those sides are the creatives coming from that perspective?
well, in most cases, because they are, I mean, they're the ones. So when we talk about creatives, we are talking about people basically in media, tech, music, and design generally. All right. So we have those two divides, and there's a middle ground because we are dealing with the temple basically. And one of the things that we must carefully define is the fact that there's a secular concept. We often talk about secularism, and secularism generally, the way it's defined, has a lot to do with the disconnect between church and state. It actually, secular means non-religious,
Yes.
non-theistic entirely. But that's the world we live in. And the concept of the Bible is we are in this world, but we are not of the world, but we are in this world. So we can't pick one over the other. Somebody cannot now become a champion of we are in this world, right? And then it's all worldly pursuit. Another person cannot stay on one side and say, we are not of this world, and then you are totally disconnected from reality. So both parties have a point, right? And the truth of the matter is that skill is involved, time is involved, effort is involved. And if we are not very careful, we'll be pushing people more, like the statistics say. Yes, we'll be pushing people more to the world if we don't understand how to bring the right balance. And here's the right balance. People must be properly raised, people must be properly trained, and given the right perspective of service to God. But the truth of the matter is the Bible does teach that the laborer is worthy of his hire.
Okay.
And it even starts from even those in pastoral leadership. We have a lot of lay pastors in church. There are a lot of people who are bivocational ministers. So that means they have a secular job and they are pastoring at the same time. But the truth of the matter is that the Bible encourages for them to be paid for what they are doing. And if we're going to pay the guy who does security, right? We're not going to say he's working for God. If we're going to pay the guy who does administration, then there are some of these things that, yes, with the proper right understanding, they can be properly managed. Now, here's the challenge. The challenge is when people begin to make unholy comparisons. Challenge is where people sometimes don't deliver and they are very demanding. There's also a dilemma in that case. So I think just the right balance.
Okay, Pastor, I'll have to cut you short. I want to actually ask now, from the aspect of those people, like you rightly said, that see it as holier than thou, that see it as okay, or maybe see it as it's for God. You have to actually pour out to God, serve God. How can you address those people that see it from like the leader's perspective?
Yeah.
Maybe they just see it as these people are coming to do things for God. They should not be asking me for money. They should not depend on the church. The church is for God and they should give their service to God. So how can you come from that angle as a leader?
So here's the balance. Life is in stages. Men are in sizes. It's a popular saying. Here's the deal. The church system should learn to accommodate what it can afford.
Okay.
That's the way I see it.
Okay, that's the way you see it.
That's the way I see it. So that people don't end up being disgruntled. And many of these issues actually can lead people away from God if we're not being very careful on how we manage it. So we must be accommodating, but we must be ready to accommodate what we can afford. So if it's something that we cannot afford, then we should just be comfortable with where we are at that time until we grow. As we grow, and I say it, I'm pastoring a growing church, and God is helping us. And I say some of these things that we want to do, we desire to do now, we can actually grow into it. Okay. We will take away the strain and the stress of what it costs us to run the church if we allow ourselves grow into the place where we can accommodate it. So there is no, how much is it going to cost? Let's do it. It's better that way than for us to now say, okay, just come. Just do it, and then we'll see after. And then everybody's not looking at you like, what's going to
Okay, sir,
happen?
I'm coming to that thought now. I would like to ask Abraham that what do you think about this issue of people are like, you don't pay us, you don't value. Like there's so much, they feel like so much rejection on the creative parts that these people are not really seeing my worth, my self-worth. And some of them actually legit leave the church out of church hurt or legit, maybe they have communicated it several times and it's more like they're not being heard. So how can you come from the view of creatives?
All right, so
For you as a creative
for
though.
me as a creative, I'll say it's something that we've all experienced, if I won't be lying right now.
Okay.
We've all experienced it to a point, but one thing has kept me in check, and that is the fact that if there is no one to applaud me, um, does God see me? And I think I would like to take it back to purpose. Actually, why am I here? Why do I have what I have? And I think purpose will solve a lot of issues if we all can get this factory set from time to time of the assignment that we've all been given. Maybe we won't have too much of this chaos. Like Pastor Bolanta said something about growing into it, and I love that idea. I love it so much because most times we see something, we just want to replicate it. This is it. Let's replicate it. This is what we see. It's nice. It's good on the outside. Let's put it in. And because of that, we bring in so much stress, so much training. There's no proper process to it. There's no due, nothing at all. So it brings a lot of confusion in that aspect. So for me as a creative,
Yes.
right,
Okay.
I look at it, okay, church hurt is real. I won't lie.
Yes.
I won't lie. It's very real. And there's a way.
But has this happened to you before?
Yes, yes, yes. Like,
And how do you react to it though?
I'd say I wasn't. It wasn't like a perfect. I wasn't perfect. It's something I had to learn. I had to grow into, because I could have days where I'll be going through a lot, and then I would come to church, and someone would tell me that, how far we're not seeing you. Your spiritual life has gone watery. I literally got this one time like, your spiritual life has gone watery. Are you sure? I'm like, you don't know what is going on with me. So we face this a lot, but it's all the part of we knowing God as well. Now it's sorry, I'm diving into parts. It now takes us back to that. The reason why I said the church is very important, right, for our growth. Most times when we break scriptures, dive into knowledge, we don't get this anywhere than fellowship. With this that we are able to grow.
Okay, so Dominion, we would like to add to what Abraham has said so far.
Okay, so what I'm going to talk about is honesty, right? I like the point of honesty, right? There has to be honesty between the leaders and the creatives, right? In the sense of what I would have called it, for me, I would say, now that I've learned over the years in dealing with church or having to do something for the church, maybe it's not my home church or another church, right? I like things to be spelled out clear from the beginning, right?
From the get-go.
Let's be honest. Let's not be that you come and say, we'll see. We'll see after the service, right? Or you use the advantage of, because, probably my father is a pastor or something like that. I'm a pastor. My child, please, can you come? We'll see. So because of how much I know my father respects you or you respect my father, I will just show. Then at the end of the day, I'm going, sir.
And you just say, God bless you.
The blessing of the Lord goes with you.
So it's like, these things.
So
let's
I'm thinking like,
listen to him.
can we just be honest from the beginning, right? Can we be honest? We already know this is the church, right? Be honest from the beginning. Be honest from the beginning. It is as clear and simple as that. You see, that honesty from the beginning solves a lot of problems.
Yeah.
That's one. Then two, in being honest, if you're honest, you don't lie. But at the same time, I've seen some situations where in the honesty, there is a little bit of some wavy movement, right?
Yeah.
So being honest from scratch, right, I feel like it solves 80% of the problem. Like Pastor Victor said, we grow together, right? So if this is my home church, I want to see my home church grow, right? I'm not saying compulsory you pay me 1 million naira for my services, right? Even the secular world may not even be sometimes be able to pay me the 1 million naira for my services. But like at the same time, right, this is a service unto God, right? As much as we pay the security, like Pastor Victor said, we pay the church admin, right? I'm not saying pay, but at the same time, appreciate your team members, because these people are the ones that make they amplify. Take for example the messages, right? The Bible talks about we reaching out to the world and all of that, right? Some pastors may not be able to travel from more than here to Ekiti, all their life,
Yeah.
right? But their messages can get to the UK, can get to.
True. Very correct.
How do
Very
we do that, right? It's the place of so me, I'm speaking from my own side of being a creative as
Okay.
a videographer and all of that, right? We are the ones that help to amplify that, right? So we are also fulfilling the scriptures too in going to the ends of the earth.
Can you give us a personal experience you had concerning this, being honest, being like appreciated, that you experienced in one way or the other?
I'm trying to see how I can package it that the people on the other side will not find
they
out.
would
So,
not.
so I work with a lot of artists, right? I also work with a lot of people. In the creatives also, sort of creatives also, but we say maybe they are, how will I say they are
Creative sector has different
Hey,
divides.
maybe the pastoral side of the creative sector, right? And you hear that, oh, okay, we have this big production, blah, blah, come, right? So in your mind, first of all, as a creative, there are two things that you are thinking about.
Okay.
Number one, what's the, after I do this job, who is going to see this thing?
Yes.
How many, like the platform, where am I going to reach, blah, blah, with it? Then there's the other part of, okay, at the end of the day, how much is coming to my account? Because I'm going to spend money to get some of these things done. Transport myself. I may transport my team,
Okay.
right? I might rent equipment and all of that,
Okay.
right? So I've had some where they said, oh, okay, this and this is how much we gain, right? Then this is how much we pay you. Because of how clean you are in your own heart, you say, okay, yes, I don't mind receiving this. But at the end of the day, you hear from the back that, oh, they receive so amount of money in your mind, and you're like, okay, what do I do? Do I come and challenge them?
So you don't sound like you're a sinner, or you don't
Or
sound
do
nice.
or do I call them out on social media and say, so when
Tag them.
well, because of you know who is inside you, right?
Okay.
There are some things that
John, do you
We've-
have, sorry about, to cut you short,
Yeah.
but John, do you have anything to say about that?
So, is that about his experience or the topic in general?
In general.
So basically, what I just want to emphasize is that the church needs to know the importance of creatives. We are very important in the scheme of things. Because Moses, he went up the mountain, he received the whole description with the lightning, with the thunder and everything. He saw the glory of God, but he couldn't build the temple. He couldn't. He needed someone that had the skill to do that. And when Moses was about to build the temple, he told them to bring gold, bring resources and all that. So there's going to be resources needed to make these things work. If you want to work with creatives, you need to have the good
You have
resources.
to pay them.
When it comes to payment, like they have all said, it depends on the circumstance. Everything needs to be spelled out. But the major thing is that we need to understand that these people are important and they need to be appreciated. Because without them, the work of bringing down heaven on earth can never be attained. So I think that's what I just want to chip in. They have said everything concerning the payment and all that, should we pay, but we are important in the scheme of things. No matter the visions that God gives you, if you don't work with people who have the skills to bring those things to earth, it's going to be impossible to attain it or to get to that quality that heaven wants. So I feel that's important to say.
Pastor Banjo, we would like to have your own take on this payment issue on
Okay.
ground.
Okay, so I would like to look at the 12 tribes of Israel, for example. God commanded that the Levites should not work. So they are the one taking care of the temple. But my question is, how were they paid? So there was a particular side of the whole story that says that every other tribes, 11 tribes, are to contribute a quota to take care of the people taking care of the temple. So if you have that, and looking at it, you now look at, the Bible speaks to us in Exodus 31 about Bezalel and Oholiab. how they were given the gift of creativity to do all sorts of craftsmanship. And looking at all these things, you will ask yourself questions. If these people are dedicated to this assignment, how were they paid? So it means that some people are finding a way of taking care of them because they have dedicated their life, their time for that purpose. So looking at the payment, like the way for example, as a pastor, if I want to invite you as a gospel musician, artist to come to my church, so the first thing I looked at, I wish I can have Abraham because of the anointing upon his life or because of the purpose that we want to achieve at that period. But I look at it that, Abraham is coming from Abuja. And Abraham flight probably around 220, 250, and if he's going to be in economic class. And I look at it, I say, but John is nearby. John is not going to travel down. And let me go for John. Not that I didn't respect the anointing on him, but I look at my purse, the size of the pocket of the church. Like Pastor Victor said, you don't need to take the church through unnecessary stress just because you want to hold a program. So, and I let it know to John and say, John, you're coming down for this purpose. So sorry, I know that we can't pay your what. And I have seen all those things. And I look at it, I calculate in my head. John is coming with 2 percussionists, 1 keyboardist, 3 focus, 3 back BGV, that's back BGV, focus and co. And I look at it, I say, let's assume that John pays these guys 5,000 naira each. So at the end of the day, I'm able to calculate that John will be parting with around 50K. So looking at 50K, so meaning that whatever I'm giving John, if I want to give John as my friend, I should not give John less than 100,000 naira. And with apology. Say, John, I know that you came around, I would have loved to do more. There's the way you present.
The manner of approach.
Yes, and it makes the man to look at it that, this man is sincere.
So will you say that's why some of them are repelling or hot towards pastors?
I won't deceive you. It's a major part. It's a major part. Okay, the person that comes to the event with lighting, will you tell the person that the person has done God's work? Somebody brought sand. Will you tell the person that is God's work? So we factor everything into this process. We have a budget before we start this program. So if we are going to be running out of our budget and we don't have the funding, the best thing to do is to use relationship to get jobs done. I have friends around me, I have younger ones that I know that can do this job. For example, Abraham now, if somebody tells me that, you needed to do voiceover over something, and I look at it, who can I call around that can help me? And I say, okay, call me Abraham. And I call Abraham, and Abraham says, my money is 100,000. I look at it, 100,000, that's fair enough, because probably he's going to use a studio to do his recording, he's going to pay for this, pay for that. And look at it, say, Abraham, I didn't have that. What can you do for me? And he asked, Bros, how much do you have? I said, can you just help me to manage 50? I know that's not your worth. I know that's not your worth. But the good thing I'll be doing to Abraham after paying that sum is to also find job for him to be able to cover up. Look for other means. Okay, Abraham, please, there's one this thing. I don't know if you can do it. Just address them normally, talk to them based on your standard, and agree. I'm not involved. All what I have done is to bring a link. So if that is how we pastors are doing, I believe that the creative that we have in the house will stay in the house. There's, like Dominion mentioned, there's no single creative that will like to see his church in dark mode. Everybody wants to have
pour into
a relationship that this is my church. This is how it is. So even if you work somewhere else, there's this passion to always say, how are guys doing? I have to go back to the church. What's going on? Because you have the side of empathy needed to play a good game here. Because you have to look at it. You are probably a pastor, you work in the secular world, and if you don't come to the office, that is not your HR will stand on you and say,
yes, exactly.
You can't say that I went to church yesterday and that's why I came late to the office today. No, that won't happen. So the same thing we should also look at the side of that empathy that the same creative that we are talking about also works somewhere else, either as contractor or as employee. So and they have to deliver. Okay, for example, yesterday I asked one of our creative to help me with a design. He did design, I was not satisfied. So I said, send me the PSD file. He sent me the PSD file. One of my younger guys, I sent it to him. I said, help me to do, He said, this work is not done well. But I didn't want to discourage him. So I only appreciate it. I said, thank you for this design. We will work with it. I said, I know that you are just coming up, but we work with it. But after he was done with the work, I sent it back to him. I said, see, this is the placement. This is how it's going to be done. I remember there was a guy like that around 2018, 2017, thereabout. I didn't know he was designing. So we went there to do what evangelism did. And I said I needed somebody to do design for me. And I didn't want to go far to other people that I know. I just want something in-house. It's a small thing, just a market thing. And the guy did it. And I said, wow. So you do this? I said, yes. I said, good. So we printed the job. And I printed the banner to be big.
Okay.
In my mind, I just said, let's make it big.
Okay.
And the guy came to me and says, Pastor, this is the first time in my entire life that my creative work is out. That I can see it, that this is what I have done. And I said, what we should do for this guy is to link him up with someone that can help him. I went to someone, I said, can you help me to take this guy in as an intern? He said, no problem. I said, well, please, don't pay him yet, but we give him transport fare. Logistics should be covered. I said, the reason is, let me observe and see how he can work with this little. And in the space of 3 months, we agreed that now he can start paying. So it's also that part of mentorship.
Yeah, very
That
important.
you are mentoring the person, because something is very important that we should not take away from the pastors. And the pastor has to learn it as a way of life. You are complaining that the creative is charging much. My question is, how much of investment did you do in that person? What
So
did
you're even saying that the pastors they need to mentor these people.
Mentor them.
And also
How much
encourage them
investment
as well.
did you
Have
do?
you poured
This
into
same
them?
person probably went out to learn
what they
and maybe at $1 million, 2, 3, 4, thereabout, and he came back and you're saying he's charging much.
spend money to get trained.
Yes.
Some
yes.
of them, the gadgets
That's
they
a
use
valid point.
these days now, the minimum gadget that a creative person can have should be around 1.6 or 2.4 million naira.
And you are telling them you can't pay.
Yes.
God bless you.
God bless you. Of recent, I got involved in buying 3 M1 Pro. And each one costs 2.8 million. Why? The person brought it, not I bought it from the market. The person brought it to Nigeria, and it was a distress sale. So I just look at it that, okay, how do we work this out? And I discussed with someone who said, okay, he can give it out for 2.6. And I bought the first 2.6. Before I knew, I said, let me come back and take the third. He said it's not 2.8. I said, why? He said, bros, it's time to leave. I need money. But I understand that because I trusted his own product because he came with it directly from abroad, from US. I don't know if I should go to the market and buy. I might be buying the wrong one. So I believe that price. And with that, if he has any other product, what he asked me is that, do you have anyone that wants to buy this? That we should be able to create a balance where I say, I was part of your development.
Okay.
And if I am part of your development, I don't need to struggle to get things done.
Okay.
And because I'm part of your development does not also mean that I should take advantage of you. So you are getting some things done for me, and also I'm also looking for another way to also compensate you. Because there are some creative like that. They will say, I don't want to earn anything from you.
In fact, I was going to
Say, don't pay me, sir. But the onus is on me to look for what we pay him. So I go out.
So not just leave it there when they say, don't worry, sir.
Say, don't worry, sir, don't
Do
worry, sir.
something,
And it's
sir.
every time, don't worry, sir. So get a job for me. It's not saying it, but that is what I should be hearing.
Yeah, okay.
But please, can I ask a question here? I think, sir, I love the way you're explaining it to us here, and I can say for a fact that it's because you also have an experience with this. You've seen it.
Yes.
But now, the issue is with those that don't know anything about it. I'm sorry if I might be coming this way, but most times it's difficult. Because no matter how you explain this thing,
You won't get it.
they don't want to see it.
In
It's
that
not like they
light.
don't want to see it in that light. Like, I can see the way he's explaining it. Like, I'm just, so you're just saying it out. But tell some
How
people,
they wish.
that's
How they
how we
wish.
wish. But
Yeah.
some people are very difficult to work with. Like we can't even say it. There's just this gap. How do we even address this without necessarily coming out rude?
Okay, so talking about that, how will you say that as the church leaders on church, have they really accepted the creative community? Do you feel they have actually accepted the creative community?
To be very honest, I'll say right now they're accepting it because it has become very popular. And I won't say, from what I've seen so far, it's not entirely for the purpose of the gospel itself, but because that is what is going, and that is the way in
So
the
more like
creator.
they're going with the
These
trend?
days is like it's a creator economy. Let's just do what we can. So there's no link up to okay, this is actually the mandate. This is a move. There is no, people are not really seeing that okay, this is a move. This is what we should be doing. But like, okay, this is what trends. This is what is. Let's just take it in. So most times it comes in. I won't say it's entirely sincere. It's not. It's not really. It's
Okay,
not
just
entirely
quickly
sincere.
hold on at that thought. So we'll be going quick on a break. And when we come back, we're still diving into the gist, the church, and the creatives. Stay tuned. Okay, welcome back from that commercial break. Yes, we're still on the topic, the church and the creatives. And we're talking about, should creatives be paid? Should they? We want to know their values. We want to know from the perspective of the leaders of the church and also the perspective of the creatives. We want to come to a common ground while addressing this sensitive and interesting issue. So back to you, Abraham. You were saying that you feel like they should actually be heard. You can just pick up on there.
Yeah, I was saying something because it was explaining something to us
Yes.
then, and it was talking about how the leaders and the creatives can come to a common ground. And this, what he said, was actually gold mine. That if being applied, will change a lot of things. Maybe not everything, but a larger percentage of these things. We can come to a common ground, honesty and all. But there are also people that are so difficult. You cannot even come.
Okay,
you
so I'll
can't-
let Pastor Bajo to address those difficult
So how
ones.
do we do it without
Like,
sounding rude? Because I'm saying,
rude
oh, it's
or not-
rude. Right?
yeah.
Exactly. So,
Because they may take it as you are a sinner, you are rebelling.
Yes,
You don't
exactly.
honor
Yes.
God.
How do
There's
we?
not much honor.
Because I'm asking because I want to be careful so we don't start to rebel again. Because there's this thin line with it. We wanting to be right and so.
Okay, thank you. I just hope I'm not going to be giving an escape route to
That
the
we want it
creative in the
direct.
community. So I will say this. You know, there's this man of God in quotes that many pastors needed to drop. How do I mean? Man of God in quotes is that because I'm a pastor of a church, so I'm God of the church. I'm the God of the church. And anything I say, I expect the people to abide and work with it. But the truth is, the way we go, let me use that side, the way we pass through our workers in training and the people that taught us, they are different from one another.
Yes, actually.
Some of us pass through workers in training and we spend 10 years before we join workers. But some pass through workers in training and before they started workers in training, they started working.
People don't believe that you should
So there are some sides.
Why have you gone through the process so fast?
Are you getting that? So
Actually.
the pastor should try to first understand that the generation that I am first,
Different generation.
how did they start their workers in training? Did they have the same understanding that I have when I was joining workforce? They don't. Okay, this guy actually have a point by being paid for the work he has done. Number one, the pastor should first ask himself, how much investment did I put in the person that I want job done for? Number two, how much support has the church, as a team, as a family, given to that person? You know, there are some of us you know what angers some of the creative in the church is this. Some of them have appeared maybe to probably the hospitality unit or the pastorate and so-called pastorate in the church. And they say, I want to go for this training. And the pastor says that, I also have a child now that can go for it. Are you getting that?
Yeah.
So some things have been established in the mind of that person before he got that knowledge. But we kept coming to say that, haven't you read about R.G. Letone? How he was paying 90% of his tithe to the church, and he was having 10%. And he even have a university that is training people, creative and Christianity all together.
Is actually the point.
Are you getting? So we have all those things. They say, wait, it's because the church, the life of God, the hand of God was upon Adrian Smith. That's why he was able to design Burj Khalifa. This and that. We kept saying all those things. But we never knew the back end story of all these people.
Exactly.
How did they just wake up one day and they become like that? They didn't. So it must have been that somebody encouraged them, either as a pastor or as a Christian leader or as a mentor in the church. Because for them to have dedicated their life for the body of Christ, it means that there's something that encouraged them to become like that. So pastors should watch this. How much of investment did I put in this person? So we should ask, is an introvert discussion now that you are trying to ask yourself, like, before we kill this guy, let's even ask ourselves all these things. And pastors should drop the God mindset over the church. The God mindset over the church. If a person says that we'll be needing finances to get this done, I'm not saying I'm the one that will be paid. And funny enough, some creative guys are not even the one to execute the job. Some of them are just aggregators. So they know who can do this, and they bring them together. So you might not be paying me as the aggregator, but the people I'm going to be bringing should be paid. And even if you are not going to pay them, it should not be a common lifestyle. They came last month, free. This month, free. Next month, free. So he kept saying, one day you know what they will do for you. They will keep hosting you till the tail end of the program, and you don't see the work.
Can you guys relate to that?
Are you getting that? You will not see the work. You will not see. But if at a point you let them understand that, guys, the church is not buoyant enough. Many, Pastor Victor is there. There are many things that the church is not buoyant to do, that pastors are the one paying for it. If it involves some of us going for marathon fasting to get it done, if it involves some of us not paying our children's school fees yet to get it done, but just say, let's take this thing out of the way first. We'll be solving it later. So as much as a creative person has the mindset of helping the church should also have the mindset of helping the creative person.
Okay.
So it's the two working together so that we can be able to have a common ground and allow the blessing to also flow to the creative person.
Yes, sir.
Because if the pastor is always saying that, no, and you people want blessing upon your life, the truth is that they will have blessing. They will have blessing because you don't even know what they have gone through. Some of them have to buy packages. Adobe now is not free.
Not.
Are you getting now? Unlike then that all of us were using cheat
Even
code.
CapCut.
There is nothing cheat code. CapCut is not free.
Normal
So they are paying for it. They are paying for it. Having a 2 user for a year now, you'll be spending close to $1,600 annually.
Yeah.
And if you look at all these things, so the so-called pastors like me should also look at it that, okay, sorry, I know that God will pay you in other businesses, in other engagements. But for this one, this is what I have. This is what I have. So if Dominion cannot do it at that particular time, and Dominion needed to get somebody because he's engaged with his own personal assignment or businesses, so he will get somebody that will not be expecting much.
Yeah.
Somebody that can expect in the size of what the church is providing. So you don't allow creative guys to now enter into debt in the name of I'm trying to protect my pastor or trying to make my church.
Thank you
happy.
so much, sir, for that input. Pastor Victor, you know, we said something about you said something about growing with you as a church or growing as a whole together and understanding what really works. But I wanted to ask, has there been a time whereby, for example, let's take for instance, someone who is a creative doesn't want to understand at that moment, and the person is like, I did this graph, I did all of it, and you don't want to pay me. And like, this is what we have, oh, this is what we have, oh. How will you manage that person's reaction, or how will you manage that create's reaction?
Okay, thank you very much. So I'm really enjoying this topic. So I will speak from both perspectives in line with what we have been discussing. Yes, we have the question of character. And to be honest with you, it's not always on the side of the creatives. Sometimes the people in leadership are also of questionable character. But there's also that question of character because let me also say before I even further respond to that question that in addition to what Pastor Banjo said, leaders must always be progressive.
Okay.
It's very important. That's what takes all that mental block and all of those challenges that sometimes spring up. When we are genuinely progressive, because revelation itself is progressive. Truth is constant. It never changes.
Yes, sir.
But revelation is progressive. We must not get stuck in what God used to use. That's very, very important. If we do that, you will say because the jawbone of an ass worked, then you must go and use it again. Whereas, so yeah, we must not get stuck in what God used to use. And one of the challenges like they raised is that the church, it's not like I said the church never comes to the scene, but sometimes the church comes in a bit late.
Yeah. Yes.
Rather too late in many instances. And Pastor Banjo made a very valid point. Go and check some of the greatest world inventors. They are Christians. And you need to go and find out their background and how they were raised. I'm not talking about people who just came in.
Yes.
I'm talking about the innovators themselves.
Yeah.
They were Christians. Go and check it out and go and find out how they were raised. I've discovered that when you check all the industrial revolutions from the first to the fourth, Christians have always had their part to play.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But many a times, the challenge has always been, when did they wake up? That has been the issue sometimes. So the leaders must always be progressive. There are denominations, and thank God for our denomination and how our story is that of being progressive. Because if Pastor Adeboye did not take the step that he took with model parishes and things like that,
Yes.
RCCG will have been obsolete.
Exactly.
Sure.
Thank God for youth churches, young adult
Yes,
churches, expression churches. That's the spirit of being progressive.
Exactly.
Because if we don't embrace that, we will just be a story.
But what
Unfortunately,
about sorry to cut you, what about the church in a whole?
Yes.
Like RCC is able to see that, but other churches, how do you feel that they approach that matter?
so that's the point
tight?
I'm trying to make. It can't be one denomination can reach the world.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
There are even some other denominations that they are right at the cutting edge of technology. Like they have their own systems, but it can't just be one.
Okay.
The entire system has to wake up. So you know what? We have to be at the front burner. Micah 4:4 says that the mountain of the Lord's house should be exalted above every other mountain,
Okay.
and they should actually flow into it. So it's possible for us to set the pace, like they are trying to say. It's not just that now it's trending. In fact, one of the challenges I have on both sides, both leadership and creative side, is going with the trend. I'm all for being progressive.
But can you just shine more light on that?
So yes, so for example, trends, you see, trends will come and go. They will always come and go. If we always allow ourselves to allow our creativity, as it were, to be dictated by what is trending, then we may be just falling for the trap of the God of this world without realizing it.
Yes, sir.
So some trends are good.
Yeah.
Some trends are in. That's the point I'm trying to make. So
Okay.
if you just subject yourself to trends only, you might be falling for a trap. and be giving an inroad for the devil. So I'm all for being creative.
Okay.
I'm all for being progressive.
Okay.
But I'm also all for being spirit-led and being spirit-driven.
Okay.
That's very, very important for us to. And you see, the Spirit of God is the spirit of creativity. I think we've said that time and again. The challenge is that some people have isolated the anointing only for conventional preaching.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it never has been limited to that.
Actually.
You saw Bezalel and Oholiab that I spoke
Yeah.
about. We saw Daniel. Skill and craftsmanship and all of those things. It was inspired by the Holy Spirit.
Yes, sir.
So the Holy Spirit himself is a creator, is an inventor, and an innovator.
Okay, sir,
Alright.
so back to my question. How do you handle that situation practically? When
Yes.
he's rebelling, or it's like you feel maybe it might seem as a rebel, but it's kind of like it's not really happy about that.
One of two things. It might be a product of a failed system. It might be. Such characters may be a product of a failed system or what we have allowed. That's one side. On the flip side, we must treat everybody with grace.
Exactly.
That's just the truth. Everybody, I've been in that place where I felt like I've done my very best for this person. And I'm actually telling somebody else in leadership, you know what? There's something in leadership as crushing somebody.
Yeah.
I have a principle.
Okay.
The goal of correcting somebody is not to crush them. It's to make them better. Pastor gave us a typical example.
Yes.
Somebody did something, they didn't quite get it. Okay, let's receive it. And let's see how we can find it. Let's ask questions. How can it be better? Let's find out what was the idea behind this? How did you arrive at this? We're all learning and we can all be better. So, but not even in creative design now, on a more musical front. And this one really had nothing to do with the creative part of the person, but the behavior. So at this point, I'm like, you know what? We're going to crush this guy.
Crush him like how?
Like, let's deal with him. But you know what? I still had to sit down and I'm like, I really want this person to be better. I want them to lead a quality life. I want them to actually, I can see the grace. I can see
I
the
hear
gifting.
you.
They may not even see it. It's the job of a pastor. A good pastor, a good leader must be able to harness the talents, graces, and
Must be
giftings.
patient.
Oh, yes.
Exactly.
So I went to another leader and said, let's surprise him. Let's go and see him. Let's go talk to him. You know, and we have people who even, they say stuff like that, we don't want to be paid. But some of them, I look them in their face and I'll tell them, I'm commanding you to be paid.
Okay.
Oh, yes.
Yes, so-
Okay.
Sometimes we have to take that stand. This one is not a this thing. We have a guy who helps us with pick up and things like that. And he said, no. I said, this one is a command. I'm commanding
So
you
do you
to
do
receive
that
it.
as like an oversight or just to avoid any future issues or clashes? Why
Aside
do you-
from issues or clashes, it's oversight. I know that you're doing it from a good place and a good heart. But I also know that you will have needs. You know, some people don't know
burning
how
fuel.
to. Yes. Some people don't know how to. They don't know how to present their case. They don't know how to be vocal. So
yeah.
I have to insist in giving you a voice to say that, you know what, you still need to get something. I see your heart. And with some people, sometimes we even try them. We test them. We say, okay, this is what we can afford for now. But in my mind, I know I have bigger plans for this person. Sometimes there's a need for that test of character to say, okay, this is what we can afford for now. Let's see, just start off with it. And as time goes on, we'll improve it. And sometimes it worked the way I wanted it to, without even the person placing any demand. You know, we say, we're doing this for the person. And then the person comes back later and says, I'm really grateful, I'm very thankful. In other cases, the person was too short-sighted. So sometimes, like I said, it's a product of a failed system. We might
Okay.
need to do better with how we groom
Yeah.
and train our people.
All right.
Other times, people also the creative must be careful of peer pressure and peer influence, because that's also there. You are looking at, my guy for that side,
Okay, I'll take
you
one
must,
or two.
he talked about purpose. You must understand why you are here. So that balance needs to be there. So I think it all comes full circle when we know how to marry it. The church must understand that we must be responsible for our people. We must be part of their growth process. You know, I have people, some of our guys, where we said, you have to go to school, you have to do this, and you are responsible for this. And I was also telling the person who is in charge of them, I said, look, I must manage my expectations from this person because they must not fail in school.
Exactly.
It's my job to make sure that they don't fail in school. you won't say that you are not their biological father. They pass through you in one way or the other. So I know I must manage my expectations. And when they say, don't worry, I don't want to be paid for anything, I said, you know what, no problem. All right? But if it's something that we need to get somebody that we have to pay for the meantime, let's do it to ensure that we are not failing in that aspect.
It's a beautiful point, beautiful point. Dominion, I would like to ask you, have you ever, for any reason, felt that you need to tone down your expression in the church? Let's take, for instance, there's some times whereby you want to do something, it's so big in your mind, and you're like, you can't do this. This is not spiritual. This is not godly. We don't do such in this church. We have to be modest. We have to be moderate. Has there been times you have experienced such?
Honest truth is you feel bad that you people are not seeing what I'm seeing. Like, take for example, there's this thing about when you want something to trend or you want people to go back and watch something, right?
Yeah.
A marketing strategy.
Yeah.
You sort of create a little bit of, let's say, controversy,
Chaos.
but not controversy. Just is a marketing strategy.
Exactly.
Just because I want you to go back and listen
watch
to
it.
it, right? Because the circular, I'm not saying we are copying the circular people, but they do it, right?
Yeah.
They do it
Clickbait.
because they want you. They want
Yeah,
to.
clickbait.
They just grab you, right? That's why you see some podcasts. They do something. They cut different places, and you see. I said video editors. If you go and part of them, we can. If you talk, we can change everything, right? And I've done that sometimes, and I've gotten complaints. No, you can't do this. I'm like, people, let's sit down. Let's come to a common ground. But they say, no, it's where we want it to be done. That's how it's going to be done. There are some jobs that I've done for the church, they've done for gospel people in the music industry and stuff, that I will not, if you don't allow my creativity to be on the work,
Yeah.
I wouldn't claim that I'm the one that did the work, right?
It will
If
be in
you
your
post it,
portfolio.
I wouldn't put it on my. There are so many things I've done. They can't smell my portfolio, right? If you say, "Oh, he's the one that shot it," it's not me. It's not me. I was just there,
I was commanded.
right? Because, right? My creativity comes from the Most High, right? Because it's the master creator. So if you have an issue with it, let's talk. Let's don't just outrightly just say, "Bam, it's not going to be there." This thing that remove it. Like, let's talk about it.
What do you think about that? Thank you so much. What do you think about that, John, about that point of you not being seen, you not being heard as a creative in church? They just limit it, maybe sometimes. Some people say they limit it to just the drama thing, the choir. Someone even said something quite interesting. The person said that sometimes the pastor will just come on the altar and just be like, thank the choir, God bless the choir. They forget the other parts of the department.
Technical, media,
and it's
sound.
like,
they will just off your mic.
they will off the mic. So how do you feel? What do you feel about that not being heard?
So there in the church, there are different kind of creatives. There are those that function in the choir, there are those that function in the media, there are those that function in different aspects. But what I feel is that, firstly, within the church, it is true that there's the visible team. There's the team that we see on the altar. There are those that
The
are
drama
seen.
team, the choir.
Yes. But as a leader should understand that every team deserves attention and deserves care. So it's the responsibility for a leader to understand and recognize that and respect that. And beyond just that, I feel it's also important that leaders should recognize that not all creatives will function within the church. Although, yes, as Christian creatives, we are the body of Christ, we're the ecclesia, so there are different functions. But still, there are some that will go into the world that will represent us in different sectors. And it's important to also support and recognize those
Very important.
and invest in that. Apart from the fact that we are talking about paying this person, should we pay that, we should also support and give platforms to these people to shine the light of God in the world.
We would have to quickly round up this discussion. This is getting so interesting. Okay, so Pastor Banjo, what's your final take on this subject, the church and the creative? What would you wish to say to the creatives out there?
Okay, to the creative, I will say we should be considerate and try to give our own best to our local church, help the pastor, help the team, and also raise young ones to also work with us. And if possible, we can even create media clinic, media meetings where we train these people from time to time, so that either you are here or not, the church still functions as they ought to.
Thank you, sir. Pastor Victor?
Yes, thank you once again. So my final take would be, God is the ultimate creator. our source. We should learn to draw inspiration from God. And we should understand that we are building together. We are working together to build the body of Christ. And our values must be embedded in scriptures. That's where we should get our values from. It would impact on how we deliver. It would impact on how we express our creativity. If we maintain those values. We are the light of the world.
Thank you so much. That's a beautiful point. DN, what do you have? I popularly call him DN. Dominion, what do you have? Your final take. What do you wish that pastors would see from your own perspective?
Okay, so like I said from the beginning, right, being honest helps a lot. Being honest and show that you see what your creatives, your church creatives are doing. It goes a long way. And like Pastor Ban just said, right, even if you can't pay with cash, right, the other things helping me get clients. The clients don't have to be clients from the church. It could also be helping me shine so it's literally helping me shine my light in the world.
This point is loaded. Joe, what will you have to say about this? Final take.
They've all said amazing things. What I would say is, firstly, to the creatives, we shouldn't disconnect ourselves. No matter what you may have experienced, it's important that you have a church family. You shouldn't disconnect yourself. Stay in that family. Like normal families, you can have issues with your brothers and sisters. That doesn't mean you should run out. You need a home to survive. If not, they'll devour you outside.
Abraham, your take.
All right, so I think first for the creatives, please don't disconnect. Life is more spiritual than we look at it, honestly. You have to be connected to the right source. And your local church is doing a lot. So we should stay connected. And to the leaders, and I wanted to mention something. That's the fact that when we teach, the teaching goes a long way. Whether you like it or not, it goes a long way. And I love the fact that Pastor Bolanta spoke about scriptures. We need to dive more into the scriptures because there are revelations there that will enhance our creativity. And since it's a spiritual journey and this is a ministry, it is very important for us. So stay connected as a creative and for the pastorate.
Fantastic. So it's been an amazing time on this episode. We have come to a balance where we're able to shine more light on this. And we know that we are one. So we should just continue spreading out the light. Express your creativity. Try to make things honest. Like they said, try to make things honest from both perspectives. Try to come to a common ground and try to be realistic and just grow together. Just grow as one together. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm your host, Jadisola Taiwo. See you next time.